My name is Jeff Crane. I am here at the Bid Angels Tokenize event in Las Vegas 2025. We are at the Mike Tyson mansion where tigers used to roam. And I am with Chuck, how do you pronounce your last name, my friend? Rettig. He was the commissioner of the IRS from 2018 to 2021? 22. We just got finished listening to a wonderful speech.
Little different, right?
What you did was you brought in a mold and you freaking completely crushed the mold.
Thank you.
Whatever people thought they were going to see from you, you didn't give them what they thought.
I get that.
How did you feel about
that? It's a different world. Well, it's a privilege to be here, obviously, and to be invited, I think was huge. I love going out to speak to people about really sort of bottom line, the core is it's pride in the country, right? So when people hear about the IRS, a lot of people are like, oh man, IRS, right? Because we think of the IRS in terms of examinations or collections. Oh, I have to file a tax return. Either I have to do it myself, or now I've got to go get an accountant, and I don't want to do any of that.
Right.
If I make widgets and I sell widgets, I want to do that, but otherwise leave me alone, right?
Yeah.
So I'm a tax lawyer based in Los Angeles. I was a tax lawyer for 36 years.
Yeah.
And I had the privilege to be nominated to be commissioner of the IRS and served in that capacity from 2018 to 2022. And if you will, tax is kind of a family business. My wife's a tax accountant.
Yeah.
But she would be the first to tell you, we can't talk to each other about what we do. She goes, he can't prepare a return. I don't prepare our return. And she goes, I know he does stuff, but he doesn't talk to me about what he does. And she'll say, I meet his clients and I go, your husband saved my life. And she goes, I feel like I should know how it is you saved somebody's life. And then they'll go, I'd be in prison if it wasn't for your husband. And I go, I'll always go to the clients, okay, too much information,
Well, you know why that is, Chuck? It's because she sees how you don't fold your socks. She sees all behind the scenes and she's just like, that's the same guy. He's probably the third most powerful person on the planet. I don't understand it. Listen, because I am too, what part of LA are you from? Because you just made this big blanket. Okay.
San Fernando Valley.
San Fernando, okay. So I was born in San Bernardino, grew up all over Orange County, ended up in Whittier. So when you were saying LA boy, I was like, yeah, brother,
exactly.
That's my guy. What era was this that you grew up there?
I graduated high school in 1974. So I'm probably old enough to be your
father. Listen, I was 5 years old.
Okay.
I was 5, okay. Where did you graduate?
El Camino.
El Camino High, okay.
So part of the story, this ties into the whole IRS thing.
Right.
So my dad was born in Germany, came to the United States. He went to Van Nuys High School, graduated on Friday. On Saturday, he enlisted in the United States Navy.
Yeah.
And the only parental advice, I have a brother who's 16 months older than I, the only parental advice I really remember getting was my dad said, when it's your turn, you serve this country. This is the greatest country on earth.
Darn right.
Well, for most people, that translates into military service.
Sure.
So my brother got out of high school in 73, I got out of high school in 74. We were Vietnam era kids.
Right.
So for junior high and high school, we went to more funerals than I think any other generation, right? Maybe excluding World War II, but modern times.
Sure.
And it was Vietnam War. Yeah. Every boy, male in our neighborhood, older than my brother, went to war. So in high school, our generation wasn't get prepared to go to college. Fully 2/3 of my high school class, there were 1,200 students in my 12th grade class, fully 2/3 didn't qualify for like the Cal States or the UCs because we knew we were going to war. And what you're going to learn is this is your best friend. It's called an M16.
Yeah.
This is how you get out of a helicopter in the jungle.
Yeah.
And make sure you shoot that way. If we're this way, shoot that way. And that was the training. That's what we were prepared for.
Amazing.
And then you had the peace accords. So now our generation had to scramble. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
So actually, my dad was what became East Germany after the war. And the Eastern Europeans believe in skill sets, working with your hands.
Right.
So I am the only one in my family to go to college. My dad did not believe in education as a way. Mm-hmm. He believed that you work with your hands and, the German way, you'll always be able to put food on your table. Mm-hmm. But the sense of serve this country was strong, right? And then I think you heard me mention my wife came from Vietnam.
Yeah.
She came in boat person.
Yes.
101 people.
Incredible.
27-foot boat.
Wow.
9 days at sea, rescued at sea, taken to a refugee camp. And so their pride factor of being in the United States.
Yeah.
And what I would tell people, I said, we grew up with a flag in our house, right? And we knew the importance of it. And I know where the stars are. I could generally locate the stars. No, I know where the stars are. And I'll say, if you talk to my wife's family, they can count the stitches on those stars. They can tell you why those stripes are where they are, and every one of those things is meaningful. So then you take this family dynamic and you put us in the situation of really running the IRS.
Yeah.
And if you meet people who are at the IRS or interact with the IRS when I was there, probably 80% of them will say, "Did you meet his wife?"
That's wonderful.
Her pride factor in us serving the country and doing our best. I testified 37 times in Senate Finance or Ways and Means.
Wow.
My wife watched every one of those from home. I would come home, the door would fling open, and she'd say, "Honey, I want you to watch your testimony." And I go, "Honey, I was there. It was 3 hours ago."
Yeah.
No,
she's like, "No, you don't understand."
Like the mom, and I'm the kindergarten.
Exactly. Sit down.
No, you need to see what you did. And one of her famous ones, one of my first testimonies. So I ate in the IRS cafeteria of every facility I was ever at. Not in the commissioner's section.
Dude, I love that.
I went through
with the people.
Yeah, I went through the cafeteria. I waited in line. I'd go up. There's an empty chair. Can I sit here? Keep in mind, my picture was up at every entrance, every conference room, every hallway in 519 facilities. Yeah. So it wasn't like I was stealth.
Sure.
And I had an 11-person protection detail.
And you're pretty tall, big dude.
Yeah, I'm 6'6", but like I said, two of the guys were 6'8", 360 pounds.
Yeah.
So when you come up with 11 guys with guns, "Can I sit here?" They're like, "Yeah, I'm done anyway," right? But it's really leadership from the front.
Yeah.
I heard more over those meals in the cafeterias.
So amazing. Yes.
And more respect, if you will, and all that. And I don't know if we have time for this. I'll tell you
of course
a cute story.
Come on, tell me.
The first Valentine's Day, I got on board October 1. The first Valentine's Day of 2019. I am super proud. My wife's coming by for a romantic lunch. So I come to the office, she comes in. We lived on Pennsylvania Avenue, about 4 blocks from the IRS. She comes in about 11:30, and we go to the cafeteria. Well, I knew everybody in the cafeteria. There's like food stations. I know every one of those guys. I know their families. The cashiers were Kyle and Rosario. I know them. I know their families, right? And remember, the IRS is a very chain of command organization, very much like a military. Most commissioners would eat in their office and never be outside of that. By the way, the door to my office was about 5 inches thick when it closed.
Wow.
Fingers closed.
Wow.
Kevlar everywhere, double layered bombs on the windows. So you get a sense of the importance. So we go to Valentine's Day, we go into the cafeteria, and I am bubbling over to introduce my wife to everybody, right?
Yeah.
So first Kyle and Rosario, there's hugs and tears and all this. Then there's a salad bar. Then we go around the salad bar. And it's, like I said, it's a romantic Valentine's Day lunch. My wife, my right hand, really, Tom Cullinan, and me and 11 guys with guns in the cafeteria. We go around the salad bar, and I couldn't hold back. I'm like, "Guys, this is my wife." And in unison, maybe 9 guys who work on the food stations, they go, "Ma'am, he only eats salads." I don't.
You had them trained.
I eat Philly cheesesteaks and all the rest. And my wife grabs my shirt and she goes, "I live with this guy. You don't get a body like this by eating salads." The other guy, Tom, who's really my right hand, he goes, "I'd go anywhere with these guys. They got your back. And against Tam, they got your back," right?
That is so awesome, bro.
That kind of thing happened to us all the time.
That. Yeah.
I'm not a monotone guy. I don't read a script, as you saw.
No, I can tell,
I'll say respectfully, the commissioner before me was 82 years old, monotone, and I used to joke that he slept in his suit. That's not me. I was loved being out with the employees, I was known as the selfie king. It became a challenge in the offices all around the country, who got the most pictures with me.
Hilarious.
And then they'd send them to my chief of staff, and it went on the wall in the cafeteria. It got to the point where people come and say, "My friend has 2 pictures with you. Can I take one? This would be my second." And I go, "Well, let's do this." And so I take my tie off, right?
Yeah, make it
as
different.
though it was, different times. So very respectful of the people at the agency. They give a lot. They're not all perfect, but private sector, we're not all perfect either. I didn't ask for this person to do the same level, this person. I asked for each of them to do their best. Whatever that is. And I used to say, I made mistakes on the outside. I'm going to make mistakes as commissioner,
Right.
but I'm going to try my best. And I said, sometimes I have a bad day.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't feel like going in. I go in, but I'm going to be less productive otherwise. I get it.
Yeah.
Just try your best.
Right.
Because times 87,000 people,
Yeah.
that's a big deal.
That's
right?
incredible. And the budget you were telling me about,
14
and the
budget
revenues
was
that came in.
$14.1 billion.
Yeah, and the trillions that you were managing.
83,000 employees, and our gross revenue was
Yeah.
$4.9 trillion,
Yeah.
which is 96% of the gross revenue of
That's
the United
incredible.
States of America.
That's incredible. So I'm going to interject on a question.
sorry
I have
for
you.
him.
No. I love this. I love this. You're
Are we going to turn the cameras on?
you remind me of John Wayne.
Ha!
And my question for you,
He never lost a battle, you know.
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah,
like
right?
I didn't like Black Hawk Down. I would have changed that.
Sure.
Because I grew up with John Wayne. He
Yeah,
never
so
lost
did
a
I.
battle.
Nope, so did
Black
I.
Hawk Down
yeah.
was
So
a
a
little
trivia
depressing.
question: what was his dog's name?
Oh, I used to know this.
Dog.
Dog.
Yeah, that's it. So here's my question
That's
for
my
you.
password.
And you've
Not really. All the IT. Yeah. At IRS, they told me, just to help us out, you know, you had the question, on what street were you born? Just put street.
Yeah, right.
So, because they all needed access, we
Here's
got
my-
attacked a lot.
Here's my question for you. You've probably been asked this before. Has anybody ever asked you? Do you ever have any? Did you? Not
Political?
now. You took the words right out of my freaking
don't.
mouth. Did they ever
So
ask you
I'm
if
not
you
a political guy.
could have run for president?
Ah,
You remind me of a Reagan.
would you really want that job?
Oh hell yeah.
So
Yes.
So
look what you did at the IRS, man.
so I'll tell you, I would do anything to serve the country.
That's what I'm saying.
My pride factor of being asked to go on for the IRS.
Yeah.
We made massive differences for people who don't even know we exist.
Yeah.
And I'll get to your point. I'm a public school kid. I'm a street kid.
I love it.
I got on board in 18. We did the 2019 Form 1040 in Spanish. It had never been done in a language other than English. And we flipped it into Spanish. And people were like, why is the commissioner so into languages, right? And I go, because I barely speak
That's
English.
right.
You know?
Because where you're from, bro.
Exactly. And
The
well, you know this.
Angelinos,
I would
yes.
say 2 miles from my house,
Yeah.
Van Nuys in San Fernando.
Yeah.
The only English is the street signs.
Fully.
So
Fully,
people
dude.
in D.C. would be like, well, it's the United States of America. And I go, no, it's not. I
Right.
would say, where do you live?
Right.
And then I would go, don't say you live in America, because Canadians kind of get upset with us, right?
Sure.
Like, they got part
America's a
of the
big-
same
yeah,
landmass
that's
that we
right.
do. I said, you don't live in the United States. You don't live in America. You live in the United
That's
pause,
States of America. Yeah.
States of America.
That's right.
And when I say united, I see us like this.
That's right.
Arm in arm. You want a
That's
piece of
right.
this?
Bring it. Oh,
And-
bro.
and I'll tell you-
These two LA boys?
Yeah.
You ain't got
Oh
a
yeah, you
shot.
guys can't handle it. We got it.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you something else. What I used to tell the employees. Asia, 3,000 to 5,000 years of history and culture. Europe, 3,000 to 5,000 years of history and
Right.
culture.
Yes.
If there is a financial, COVID, military problem, where does the world look to that probably is going to come up with a solution? United States. We're 250 years old.
Yeah.
Why are we so strong?
Right.
Because we all come in through different doors.
That's right.
And we respect each other, and we get in the room, and we take the best part of everybody's culture, and then we mobilize.
That's right.
And when we do that, bring it.
That's
you can't,
right.
You can't handle us.
That's right. And when you understand culture, and we have a few more minutes, we're going to extend this just a little bit.
Sorry.
No, don't be. Are you kidding me? I'm loving this,
We
dude.
can
I'm
start
literally
over-
getting
we can
chills.
start over and do a 4-minute one if you
bro,
want.
correct me if I'm wrong. In the Latin community, if you're a Mexican family, now my name is Jeff. I am the token white guy who dates the Latin young lady. I'm Jeff. Here comes Jeff. You walk into that kitchen, you make friends with the
Yeah.
mom, you're safe.
done.
Right?
Yep,
And as you
1000%.
walk out, maybe the cousins are like, listen, S.A.,
Yeah.
you do something to my sister, you're donezo, but for so far, you're okay. Is that how that works?
1000%.
Now, if we understand that tribalism, then we know how to get along, because it's not about us anymore. It's about the community.
It's never about
Is that
us.
right?
It's never about
That's
us.
never about
It's
us.
as individuals or as a country.
That's right.
Find another country that puts so many of its people in harm's way for other countries that can't do something for us. My
Can't
son
compare.
served at the DMZ, North and South Korea, Camp Casey. It's the tripwire. It's the first place the North's going to hit.
Wow.
My son served North Camp Sinai. That's ISIS. We have 20, 25, 30,000 troops on the border with North and South Korea. How many other countries are there with us?
Right. Zero. Yeah.
Right? And so you see, well, let me break it down to IRS. when I went after to get IRS $80 billion, which we got, 10-year money, right? On top of $14 billion a year, $80 billion upfront to be spent in the discretion of the commissioner. Came in 2 months before my term ended. Now I did go around and tell the employees that I did the math. $80 billion, 83,000 employees, discretion of the commissioner. I'm just going to bonus it all out, right? And I go, the next guy is going to have the same problem I did. He didn't have any money because I gave it to you guys, but you guys deserve it. But when we went after the money, we went after with, the IRS is important, right? And I said, I'm not going to put us at the level of the military. My son has been in war zones where we provide cover, protection for military convoys of medicine and food that go through warlord territory into villages where both the warlords and the villages hate us. If they could get us one-on-one, they'll kill us, right? But we do that today, turn around 40 kilometers back, we go out here tomorrow. So we're putting our people at risk to deliver food and medicine. Who does that? And I said, and I testified, I call those angel flights. Only an angel is going to go fly somewhere to help people who don't like it through territory where you're going to lose people, right? And make those deliveries. And then this is when I was going for the 80 billion. And I said, and in history, no angel has ever taken flight without the wind under its wings. I said, the military, they're the angels, but that money we generate, $4.9 trillion,
comes from your
that's
office.
the wings. That allows them to go do that. And I was trying to make the connection why what we're doing, and if you will, payment of taxes, right, is important to the success of the country.
Sure.
What we want this country to be, it can be, but it takes money to get there.
That's right.
Right? And so the money, 96% of all money for the United States goes through the IRS.
That's right.
Allow the IRS to be the agency it can be, rather than, if you will, the agency people hate. We know why people don't like it. No, naturally, nobody wants to pay. But if you want to have the benefits this country is going to generate, there's a cost to being here.
Absolutely. Listen, this has been absolutely fascinating. And I'd like to say something probably people have said to you before. As an amateur filmmaker, first of all, you're not going to be here forever. Sorry to give you that news. And love to make sure that you leave this place a long time from now with this knowledge intact. Do you have any aspirations of books and stuff like that, or film?
So many people, before I went on board, when they tie my story and my wife's story together, used to say, you guys are like a movie, right? And 90% of the people, Jasmine included, if somebody says, have you met Chuck? The comeback will be, have you met his wife? Like, I live in my wife's world.
Sure.
that's
you're
the way it works.
Man. Yeah, you're smart.
When you patch in the whole IRS thing. So I was a commissioner during COVID.
Oh, geez.
We brought in strong relationships with 12,000 public schools, 18,000 charitable organizations, 400 shelters to get our information out, right? And when I went to DC to get sworn in, my father-in-law came. So when Vietnam fell, he was taken by the Viet Cong. He did 3 years, 9 months in a VC prison camp where he lost an eye, lost his teeth, and got disabled. And so he came to DC when I got sworn in. You're taking a guy, he got in prison because he had been in South Vietnamese army before it fell, but not when it fell. And my wife was 11, her sister was 12, number 1 and 2 of 7 kids. So they didn't go to school. They actually sold tobacco leaves on the streets of Saigon to feed the family, right? So this is the history that's there. Now come fast forward, we're going to DC to get sworn in. So we brought her dad. They live in Little Saigon. Her parents don't speak English, right? You got a commissioner who barely speaks English, in-laws who don't speak English, so we get along just fine. But the week before, my wife took him to Men's Warehouse, 2 suits, 2 shirts, 2 ties, 1 pair of shoes, because there's no reason for him to have that. He's now 90, right? The pride factor of taking that man on his 4th plane ride, he's 90, 4th plane ride of his life, he wore his suit on the plane. You'd have thought he owned the plane. We got to DC on a Saturday night. Sunday morning, we started out at the Vietnam Wall, and then has a picture in front of every federal building where the U.S. flag is. He's about 4'8", 80 pounds. He looked 12 feet tall. This man, had my wife and I moved to DC, and I worked at 7-Eleven, everybody in Little Saigon would know that his daughter and son-in-law lived in D.C., even if my whole job was that strawberry or orange? Which
Right.
I can't remember which one you
Slurpee
wanted,
did you
right?
want? Yeah.
His pride factor.
That's amazing.
D.C.'s the center of the world,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And so
Look where they've come.
I can tell you something, and I know we're out of time, so maybe
Yeah.
you're okay?
No, just finish. You were good.
So I'll do this fast. So got sworn in on Monday. On Tuesday, you go to the White House for your official pictures.
Okay.
Everybody should separate out whether they do or don't like Trump, right? Because this is my father-in-law's story.
Sure.
So we first go to Treasury, meet up with Secretary Mnuchin, take pictures. It's my father-in-law in his suit, my son in his dress uniform, Army dress uniform, my wife and I. We go to Treasury. There's a private gate that goes between Treasury and the White House. We go into the White House. As we're going through the gate, I'm with Secretary Mnuchin, who is a brilliant person, but not necessarily chatty. People say the opposite about me. He's not so smart, but he's a chatty guy, right? So we're going through the gate, and I have to say to Secretary Mnuchin, my father-in-law brought a gift for the president.
Oh my goodness.
And Mnuchin goes, it's fine, it's fine. I go, well, it's a lapel pin. That's fine. I go, well, it's crossed flags. Fine. I go, only one of them is the U.S. The other one is from the Republic of South Vietnam, yellow with 3 red stripes. It's fine. And he goes, he can give it to him. And I go, it's my second day on the job. I said, I'm hoping not to cause an international incident.
No doubt.
Didn't know Trump, obviously.
Yeah.
And assumed he would just take it.
Yeah.
But the United States doesn't recognize a South Vietnam. They recognize Vietnam, which is a communist country.
Yeah.
So the whole time Mnuchin's fine. We're waiting in a room such like this. And somebody comes up to Mnuchin. He says to me, hey, give me the little box. He can't give it to him, but the president's people will give it to him. So my wife hears that. She says in Vietnamese, it was like taking lunch money from an 8-year-old. But my father-in-law understood, you know, most powerful person in the free world. You can't just walk in and hand him something, right? There might be something in this little ring box. So my father-in-law puts his hand out. I go to grab it. Mnuchin grabs it and says to one of his people, go in there and tell them what we're trying to do. And somebody leaves, and I go, it's okay. It's my second day on the job, right? I could be the shortest term commissioner in history.
No doubt.
And Mnuchin probably could have lost his job too. And the president can't lose his job, but it'd be like, see, look at this guy. You know, he's causing a problem respecting South Vietnam, which doesn't exist. So we're chatting. Somebody comes back. Secretary Mnuchin turns to me and he goes, he can give it to him, right? And as he hands it to me, my father-in-law saw what was going on and he snatched that box. This man went in and he presented this little box, little red ring box with crossed lapel pins of U.S. and the South Vietnamese flag on behalf of everybody who had any connection with South Vietnam. That interaction, I would do anything for this country. It's not a Trump, Mnuchin, or Chuck thing.
That's so awesome,
it's respecting people.
Yes.
Trump, Mnuchin, nobody else needs to respect my father-in-law. He doesn't exist in their world. He lives in his own little world. But when I saw the respect given to my father-in-law, and so the end of this, fast forward, when we go in, there's group pictures with the president sitting at the Oval Office, and then one by one, and the president accepts this. The president stood up and gave my father-in-law a bear hug and said, you can come back anytime. He did not say that to me. He didn't say it to my son in his Army uniform. And I'm like, who are we, right? And so I always say, you know, watch the media, see what they do, see how they react, but come to your own conclusions. Find out what you really think is there and who people really are. And I will tell you, the respect given to my father-in-law for us is off the charts.
Chuck, you're a good man. And it's not just because you're from LA. Because
well, that's 80% of it.
Yeah, it
right?
is. You said that like 3 times and you were very proud
of it. So this was a 4-minute interview.
Yeah.
We've been in here 2.5 hours.
Listen, ladies and gentlemen, that was fabulous. And I will say this, you know, you can sit somebody in front of you, you put a camera, because you have no end to stories. And if you can at least leave this with your family, your kids and your great-grandkids, let's get this on digital somewhere, because you are a great American.
Hey,
ladies and gentlemen.
1,000%. The greatest country in the world. You don't have to agree with the policies of our country, but at core, we're a country that put our people in harm's way.
That's right.
Look at, have you ever seen the color guard, right? You know, all the different military branches,
right.
they have the flag.
Yes.
Every one of those banners is a battle that U.S. people have participated in. Well, how many of those have you seen on U.S. ground?
Yeah.
And you've never seen the United States ask for land when we go and conquer, you know, some other force.
Yeah.
The land that the United States owns outside of the United States is to bury the dead soldiers.
I'm with you 100%.
Who does that?
My uncle was in Vietnam, and my grandfather, tell you a tiny story, and we're going to cut this off, okay? Tiny story.
We should have cut this. I
Not at all.
apologize to
Not
all
at
of
all. My grandfather, who, God rest his soul, John Erickson, he was in 2 theaters, and he was up in the mountains, the Alps of Italy, with pack mules and big guns, right? Traveling through, and his pack mule's name's Carmen, which is his wife that he married, which was my grandmother, because she was stubborn as a mule. So I come from, and they're in my garage, the triangled flags, right,
sure,
and all that, and I love
have
America
that for my dad.
too. So listen, ladies and gentlemen, I am
I
so
will
excited.
add in,
Yes, sir.
my son's a doctor in the Army.
Yes, sir.
His training is multiple amputees and burn victims. So when people say, look what you've done, I go, so today my son helped somebody, multiple amputee, learn how to pick up a spoon. 3 weeks from now, they'll be able to actually have food on it and put it in their mouth. That's more important than anything the rest of us
And
have
the
done
real
for
hero is the man who's learning how to put the spoon to his mouth, because he gave everything for this country.
1,000%.
Right?
That's where our heart is. When I talk about military, I kind of go through that lane and go, these people have given. Like, and you know, military is all volunteer now. It's not draft. So when you see people, my ask for people is when you see folks in the airport or here or there, they're not looking for overwhelming. Just a thumbs up, a thank you, appreciate what you guys are doing. If they're in line, buy a cup of coffee. Or if you're in a restaurant, you see a meeting, buy their meal anonymously.
That's right.
It's happened to my son, and it hits us hard, and it makes the impact, because we can't do what we do without all the rest of these folks doing what they're doing.
Chuck, you're a good man, great American.
You really should cut this off.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was so fabulous. Thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you, Chuck.